Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another round of sound. This is the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. I'm Bob Pompeani. Lots to get into. Jeff Capel hired as head basketball coach at Pitt. Also, Le'Veon Bell ups his ante. He wants $17 million. We'll talk about the Steelers draft and should have changed given these demands. Also, we'll get into the Pirates 3-0 start home opener coming up tomorrow, but the #1 topic tonight on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown will be the Penguins, who had a chance to creep closer to first place. Instead, they lose first place. What else is new? The Capitals win it now for the third year in a row in the Metro. We'll talk about the ramifications of that with our panel tonight, and here they are, left to right on your television screen. Paul Zeise of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette and the Paul Zeise program on 93.7 The Fan. Columnist from the Post-Gazette, Ron Cook, and host of the Cook and Pony Show 10 to 2 every day on The Fan, Ron Cook. And then we have Mr. Tim Benz. Tim, of course, Trib Live and the Pittsburgh Steelers Radio Network. So we'll get right into this with the Penguins. We saw tonight a different goaltender. It wasn't Holtby, who the Penguins had owned and yanked for many of these games. Instead, it was a red-hot Philip Grubauer. And the Penguins now not only don't get to the Metro Division Championship, they also, who knows what that first-round opponent's going to be. Before we get to that, though, Ron Cook, I want to start with you on this series potentially. At some point, they'll probably have to play the Capitals. There's a new goaltender. How big of a difference is that if you're Washington?
Well, first of all, I'm hoping they do. I'm already rooting for Penguins Capitals. I could have watched that game all night tonight. It was so much fun. I thought it was a really well-played game. The Penguins didn't score on the power play, but they had 12 shots. Grubauer was tremendous. A lot of fun at the end with Malkin mixing it up and Recchi getting thrown out. Yeah, I mean, they're going to go with the hot guy, and right now Grubauer is it. That doesn't mean we won't see Holtby again at some point during the series. We saw the Penguins beat the Capitals last year with both, Fleury wins that series, and then in the Ottawa series they go back to Murray. So you're going to see both of those goaltenders. I don't know who it'll be if they play in the second round. I just hope it happens.
Yeah, I thought that was the biggest storyline of the night, actually, Bob, is that the Penguins might have just sucked in a new goaltender into this equation in Grubauer. If there's any doubt before this game that that was the guy for the Capitals moving into this postseason, I think it went out the window with the way he performed against Pittsburgh. But let's be honest here. The Penguins have had a reputation in recent seasons rightfully earned of wearing down opposing goaltenders. They faced some really good guys and good goalies, like even Craig Anderson last year was great against them and eventually in the end gave way on a fluttering puck against Chris Kunitz and had a couple of rocky games in the middle of that series too, where the Penguins just got to him, where they yanked him and put him back in. I think it's a big deal that they might be facing someone besides Holt, because I thought they got into Holtby's head over the years, but I do think they can still get to Grubauer in a best of 7.
Yeah, as the Capitals, I'd have played Holtby tonight, just for the simple fact that if I'm looking down the road,
don't look at him now, right?
Yeah. Why give the Penguins a look at him right now? I mean, a couple of games before the playoffs, it would have been the element of surprise. I mean, we know if that would have happened, the Penguins probably would have won tonight 6-3 instead of losing 3-1. But
yeah, Paul, but they want to win the division. They wanted to win the division. You're playing the best guy. I don't know that showing them anything is going to help them down the road.
Well, I think, what I'm saying is you don't want to give them a look. The Penguins are pretty good at figuring a guy out. You gave them basically a free look at him tonight. So I'm just saying, these games these last 2 years have come down. It's been a 7-game series. If he can steal one, because maybe then that's the difference between them winning and losing.
And Bob, he was so good tonight. He robbed Crosby late in the game, and I don't think that power play was bad tonight. He was just good.
12 shots.
He was just good. He
Malkin hit the post
Malkin
on one.
Rang one right. Let me ask you this. #1, two-part question here. Tim, we'll start with you on this one. #1. Are the Penguins as good as they were last year or even the year before? I'd say no to each of those, but I still think they have the capabilities of winning. But #2, it's wide open. They have 96 points. The Flyers and Columbus each with 94. Devils have a game in hand with 93. The Penguins could end up with Columbus, the Flyers, the Devils, Boston even, if they fall far enough, or Washington in the first round. Yeah. Which is the most likely and which is the most beneficial for them?
At the very least, I want them to be the top wild card. They seem to have trouble with all those teams in the Atlantic. I like their chances against any team in the Metro because I do think every other team in the Metro, at least Philadelphia, Columbus, and I think even Washington have something in their heads about the Penguins, a psychological disadvantage. Pittsburgh has not played well in the Atlantic, so at least be the top wild card to get Washington in the first round if it comes to that. To your first point, no, I don't think they're as good as last year. And the team before, I think, was even better. I think 2016 was the best of the three, then 2017, then this year. But, that's not surprising. They were the hottest going into the playoffs in 2016 and probably the best constructed in 2016 as well.
Well, I'll be really disappointed if they don't finish at least third. If they fall all the way to the first wild card, that means they'll probably have to lose both of these next two games at Columbus. I don't know how they're going to lose at home against Ottawa on Friday. I think they're going to play Columbus or Philly, and it could come down to the game Thursday in Columbus for home ice in that series. I like the Penguins against. I don't think they're as good without Ian Cole. But, tonight they played the game without Brassard. He's missed 3 in a row. He should be ready for the playoffs. That's why they brought him in here, because he's a big game performer. I think they have every bit as much chance as any other team. Win again, I really do.
The best case scenario is them finishing second and getting Philadelphia in the first round. They get a home ice advantage against Philadelphia. That's probably the best they can ask for in the first round. I guess best, home ice against Columbus, but I just think that Columbus, even though the Penguins seem to beat them and have no problem with Bobrovsky, to me, I think the Flyers would be probably the best matchup for them of the teams they could realistically play in the first round.
All those teams you mentioned have goaltending issues with regard to the Penguins, with the exception of New Jersey. I think Keith Kincaid has been really them, and we'll see if that comes into play as well. As I mentioned, the Devils at 93, but they have one game in hand on the Penguins. All right. When we come back, we're going to talk about some other stuff, including the Pirates and their opener and what they did in Detroit. But spring is a great time to be a sports fan in Pittsburgh. It's also a great time, for those of you who don't know this, to drive home a winner from #1 Cochran. Because right now, during their Spring for a New Car event, you'll get special savings on all models, plus an extra $750 over Kelly Blue Book value for your trade. But hurry, your trade deadline is coming up March 31st at all #1 Cochran locations and Cochran.com, which means you might have missed it. We'll be right back. The #1 Cochran Sports Showdown is brought to you by #1 Cochran, Go One Better, and by Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. Have a greater hand in your health.